Hello, everyone. My name is meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We have a storm system making impact off the Pacific and into the West Coast. It promises to bring some very heavy snow, 1 or 2 feet forecast in some areas of the elevated terrain. While things quiet down for now out to the west, the nation's northern plains seeing record heat. We're going to get to all of that right now. Thanks for joining me. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We're going to get right to it. But first and foremost, drop your location in the comments. I love to see who's watching live with me, and we'll talk a little bit about this national weather and the impacts it has. Also, we have some heat that's building, but let's start with a look at what's going on right now across the nation. Here is a look at watches and warnings, and we also have the latest on the radar. Notice all of the colors out on the West Coast. It does include yellow there in the western Rockies of Colorado and the northern Rockies of New Mexico, and that is where the storm is heading. Winter weather advisories that you see here in blue as we drift into the southwestern United States. Much of California being impacted with winds and rain right now, but in the elevated terrain, I gotta tell you, things are going to be a switching over to snow, and the red that you see out here, winter storm warnings for places outside of Reno and in the mountains of eastern California, outside of Bakersfield and up north, even outside of LA. Some very heavy snow potential from these systems. Just to give you a peek at some of the latest forecasts and warnings from the local National Weather Service offices out here, check the verbiage out on this. Heavy snow, 8 to 18 inches above 7,000 feet. So it's going to get pretty wild out there. And this begins this afternoon on this last day of January as we head into Friday as well. So it lasts as well for a good couple of days. Now, when we drift out into the mountains of, say, southern, near Cedar City here and the St. George area, as we get into that area of Utah, we can see that the warnings there are for some inclement travel for Thursday and into Saturday. A little bit delayed, but the amounts that you can't see up at the top, 1 to 2 feet of snow expected there. So a big time snow system working its way into the west. It will eventually get into Colorado. So if we check in for our friends out in Aspen, here's what you skier and snowboarders can expect as we look at this watch that's been issued by the National Weather Service out there. Higher amounts possible, but 10 to 21 inches being forecast by the National Weather Service out there in the mountains, the Elk Mountains, the central valleys of Colorado as well. And the time frame of this is going to be essentially from Friday and into Saturday. So keep that in mind. So that's a look across the nation. And again, on the latest radar, we're seeing most of the activity really focusing on the coastal areas of California, with the rest of the nation seeing an intense break in the weather pattern. But check this out as we take a look at the forecast models for this. We'll start with a peek over here at a national model, and I do want to point out that these models, the farther out we get in time, we have to take with a grain of salt what they're advertising, but we'll look quickly at 2 different models, and we'll do that right here. So let's sneak over to this look at, well, this is the European model as we take a peek at that and load it up. Here we go. Let's go ahead and take a peek. Now, as we see, what you're seeing is this low in the area of Colorado. I'm going to move it over in time and set it back to about now. Here's your West Coast storm system working its way on. Do you see in blue? That is where we have the expectation of snow in the elevated terrain. I'll highlight that for you right here. So the northern portions of California and out towards the Reno, Nevada area will see it first. Very heavy rains expected in coastal California from the Bakersfield area straight south into LA. Now we step through in time, and this system spreads out to the east and into the mountains of Nevada, southern parts of Nevada, northern parts of Arizona, and eventually New Mexico, Utah, as well as southern Idaho there near Boise, and point south. Here it goes, entering into the area of Colorado, and the timestamp on this is Friday morning. So between now on this hump day on Wednesday, throughout the day on Thursday, wind and snow will continue to drift its way through the western 1/3 of the nation, particularly the the central Rockies. Now, this system, as it sits here, is going to start drawing on winds from the Gulf of Mexico. Moist air there will start working its way up into the central plains. And watch this system park itself in the mountains of Colorado and sit there. The longer it sits there, the more snowfall we're going to see in the Rockies of Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. That upslope flow will continue to throw moisture that way. Now, we're looking at a timestamp here of Saturday and into Sunday. Rain in the central plains, some thunderstorms in the Gulf Coast states, more rain in places like Louisiana and Arkansas, where it's been a soggy last few days, but drought does continue in your area. This model does show that system drifting out toward the southeast United States, and then here comes another one as we head into the 5th of the month of February for the mountains of California and Nevada. That's a little far out. Now let's take a look at another model. Let's load up a European model look here real quick and just try to look for some continuity or some similarities between those models. Here we go. Let me center this back up for you for your view here. And now we'll take a look at this as we sneak across the time frame from now. Coastal California, wet, very white in the mountains of California, heading into portions of western Nevada. And here the storm system, as we cross into Friday and Saturday, sets up shop in Colorado. This Colorado low will bring chance of showers and thunder to Houston and, well, places of like Alexandria, Louisiana, in towards the Lake Pontchartrain area here. Those storms could be stout, but the risk of real severe at this point, a little bit far out to be too optimistic about strong thunderstorm chances. The snow, though, on this American model here, showing that we do have that chance at seeing it continue in the Rockies for at least a couple of days, all the way into Monday, with another system making landfall in the Rockies. There is a lot of divergence in the models here in the West as we head into the later time frames of this particular model. Keep that in mind. So once we get to days 5, 6, and 7, it's going to be a little bit farther out there as far as the accuracy of the model. Now, let's change speeds just a little bit. First of all, thanks for joining me. Appreciate all your words. I'm going to look and see if I have any questions on here. Pamela joining from West Fargo. Good to see you. Barbara as well from Grand Forks, North Dakota, where you smashed a record high today. Grafton, North Dakota. Just awesome weather in the northern plains. A little about me. I sure appreciate you joining me. Pass the word along that Hutch does weather. This national look at the weather showing impacts across the nation for those traveling, and also a little bit of a measure, a look behind the curtains at what meteorologists look at before they are making forecasts for such far out time frames. It's difficult when we get beyond days 5 to have a lot of confidence in these models, as I showed you there. They diverge. They have different solutions as to where the low pressure systems in the Rockies take place. But it does show a trend towards some stormier weather in the Rocky Mountain West and the South. Now, here is a look at some temperatures that we had today. And if you have the hankering, throw a like on my video here and subscribe to my page at Hutch's Weather and share with your friends that Hutch Johnson is doing a little bit of weather. Now let's take a look at what we have going on with temperatures across the nation for today. And we smashed some records in the northern plains. Check this out as you see. Well, let me pull this up here. I'm sorry about the wait. Okay, here we go. This is a look at temperatures in the nation's midsection today. And you see all of the red here with 70s throughout most of Texas, Oklahoma, really warming up, drying out, and quiet, almost spring-like weather for many areas, and way, way above average temperatures. Temperatures in Fargo, for instance, hit the low 50s today. Grand Forks, North Dakota, hitting the low 50s today. The warmest it's ever been in the month of January in Fargo is, 54 degrees. So not far from that today. A very warm day and uncharacteristic of a late January day here, with average highs being around 19 degrees. So this heat is expected to continue. And just to show you how far it is from normal, we see, well, let me see. I think I lost that graphic here. Here we go. Differences from normal temperatures for this time of the year and a change in the 24-hour temperature, showing the greatest change in temperature was noticed in places like Iowa, Minnesota, and the eastern portion of the Dakotas for today. So that is a look at those temperatures. The temperature trend looks to stay warm, but what about the long range trend of temperatures? Let's take a look at that, shall we? We're going to take a look at a climate forecast model Is it going to stay warm for a long time? This model does a great job of at least giving us an idea towards trends, but you have to watch it for several days to see if it's locking into and keeping those trends in the forecast. So without further ado, we'll set this into motion and we'll take a peek here at what this one is showing for us. Now, we're starting out now. You can see the timestamp up at the top. I'll try to step through this rather slowly. Look at the heat in the southern plains. Cut back as we head into Thursday and Friday. So gone are the 50s in the Dakotas for now, as a little blob of cooler air surrounding that Hudson Bay area backs into the northern plains. That's going to make for some fog, but it stays warm in the southern plains. Here's the entry of the low pressure system into the Colorado Rockies as we close out the work week heading into the weekend, and that will impact that area with some snowy weather as we showed you there. The coolest weather in the country, though, as we head through the weekend, drifts in to the Great Lakes and Northeast United States. Carry this out just a little bit farther. We see the heat returning to the northern plains as we go through the weekend with 40s and, dare I say, near 50-degree temperatures for a few, closing out that weekend and heading into early next week. We'll start to see that low pressure center rocking out of the Rockies and starting to bring some more unsettled weather to the central plains. The coldest weather in the pinks, by the way, locked up. And, well, we can wave goodbye to it for now, but will that be the case? Check this out. Heading into that second full week of February, we start to see a few more cold air masses working their way down through the Great Lakes and northeastern United States and diving as far south as the southern plains. Again, this is just a quick peek. That's the middle of the month. So it looks like a milder pattern. It looks like a somewhat wilder pattern for some along this boundary between the cold air that sets up and the milder air to the south. I hope you've enjoyed the video here. If you have, throw it a like, let people know, and I'd appreciate your likes, your subscriptions to Hutch's Weather. Don't forget to click on the little bell on there, and that'll let you know a notification when Hutch is going live. Again, wintry weather to the Rocky Mountain West and the west coast of the United States heading our way. 1 to 2 feet of snow possible there. And a real quick look at a model that shows a little bit more about the potential for snow with this system we'll take a peek at right now. I'll switch this model up to show snowfall amounts here so that we can get a better view at that heading into the next 24 hours. I do not like to carry this out too far beyond that, meteorologically speaking, because too much can change. Now, as you take a look at the snowfall in the Rocky Mountains and the Santa Anas in parts of eastern California, you start to see the purples lighten up in here. This is as we go through Thursday and Friday. So I'll go ahead and turn on the readout so we can take just a little bit of look at what the model is predicting here. And you can see the snowfall amounts. This is only in the elevated terrain in parts of eastern California, anywhere from 5 to 15 inches, and a couple of spots championing 2 feet of snow. As you get into the Rockies and the central portions of Nevada, we're expecting 3 to 5 inches of snow there. And in the mountains of Colorado, as we carry this system on into the weekend, there could be some very healthy snow amounts. This is a long ways out, so I do not put much credence into these snowfall totals that are this far out. But the potential is there, according to this model, for 5 to maybe 10 inches of snow in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, western parts of Wyoming, and western Montana, and much of the Rocky Mountains and the Bitterroots and Cascades as we look across the northwestern part of the United States. Thanks so much for joining me. You have a great week. Check out some more of my videos right here on YouTube, and it's been a pleasure visiting with you about the nation's weather as we begin